Man, you know, I really like this setup. It's got everything I could ask for in a laptop. 4 terabytes, tons of cores, very fast transfer speeds, supports Thunderbolt displays like this Studio. But there's just one thing. I can edit 8K 30 on this thing. But if I try to edit 8K 60, you can't quite do it. You're not going to play Call of Duty on a PC or a Mac like this. It's not going to happen. So let's build a new system for while we're at home. Here we have a Mac Pro 2.8. I also have a 2.9, but we'll save that for a later video. Now this is a monster of a machine, and in its time it would have been invaluable. But anymore it's obsolete. Let's solve that. Let's build the Mac that everyone wishes Mac would have just done and built from the beginning. And we're gonna start that off here today using not one, but 2 RTX Titans. We'll need this Corsair RM850. Use this knock to a NHD15 kit. We have some Vengeance RGB Pro 64 gigs worth B550 Vision Pro. We'll probably want a couple more fans, white ones to match our white cards, our white motherboard. We're gonna need some storage, so we've got a 1 terabyte blazing fast Samsung 990 Pro with heatsink. Also got a 970, Evo Plus 2 terabyte card. So let's build not a Hackintosh, but a PC. Alright, with the BIOS configured, we're now ready to go ahead and move forward with getting graphics drivers installed. So here we are getting those graphic drivers installed. Check the display resolution, make sure that that is working correctly. We are working off the USB-C port, so that is one thing to consider here. But Cinebench benched out about 18,900 points on the graphics side of things immediately, which is very good for a Cinebench score on a GPU of this age, but we have seen better. We're doing just a benchmark test on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 current gen, and we're seeing our frames are kind of all over the place, jumping 30 frames on average, but not super consistent, definitely not ideal. One thing to note here is the GPU render times down at the bottom. Those are spiking kind of high. You can see we had an average of 31 FPS in 5K, 46 FPS in 4K, jumping it down to 2160, yeah, we're 60 FPS, 1440p, 72, that's really not too bad. Our render times are excellent. You can see both GPUs being utilized. We're installing the NVIDIA CUDA installer for the NVIDIA CUDA graphics controller. We do have NVLink speeds that are working good. SMI is configured so that we've configured all of these things and ensured they are correct. Now we can rerun benchmark, where we can see Cinebench bumped up 18, 19, so we're getting 1,000 point difference between having CUDA and not. Just for kicks, take one GPU out, drop NVLink, run the same test with CUDA installed. We're seeing 10,476. We're seeing pretty much identical frames on the game though, which means it is not having in-game performance, which is pretty expected, but nonetheless, our render time is actually slightly less with a single graphics card. Here's where the interesting thing, if you watch this is playback being recorded where we're having frame skips. So with the single GPU, we're seeing frame skips on rendering playbacks, but we did not see any frame skips with two GPUs. So the biggest impacts that running one or two GPUs, other than temperature and power consumption, is going to be playback and video editing. At least with Premiere Pro, they've taken really good advantage of both graphics cards. You can see here when we're running the single graphics card that we are seeing a lot of jitteriness and jitteries on the playhead here, but frame skips are a big problem. So for the purpose of this build, we are going to continue on with the dual GPU for video editing because having a smooth playhead really helps. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one.